just roll, dude. Rolling start. Because I was thinking about this on the way up here, and I'm like, in my mind, there's this massive bandwidth that it could be. How old are you?
I'm 30.
Are you 30?
Yeah, I just turned 30 October 7th.
You could have told me 22
That's
or
good.
32,
Yeah.
Like you got the maturity, but you got the youngness.
Thank you.
But still a super young man. So this is a cool format. For those of you guys tuning in, Jorge Fernandez, 3-time CrossFit Games athlete, Mayhem athlete, and we'll get to all the game stuff, but it's funny. You're like my favorite athlete that I know the least about.
Oh, thank you.
And I've got some vague details, but I'd love to go all the way back because I know you're a San Diego kid, but I don't know. Did you grow up there?
No, I'm originally from Texas.
Okay, you're Texan. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so small border town, Del Rio, Texas.
Yep.
On the border of Mexico. Yeah.
But like where? Because it's a big state.
So San Antonio is like central. It's like directly west of that, right on the border of Mexico.
No way.
Yeah, small town.
And you were a standout. So then baseball took you to San Diego State.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So I played baseball in Texas, and then I transferred over to San Diego State.
Oh, okay. So what was the first school?
So it started at Texas State University.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started D1 there, and then I eventually got cut. And then I had to go the junior college route. So I played junior college 2 years, and then that's when I transferred over to San Diego State.
Baseball's a grind.
It is.
People don't get it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it definitely shaped me. I started when I was like 4 years old. But yeah, it's very, very mental. So it's good.
And you, as far as I understand, so tell me, once you finally got to San Diego State, things went really well, right? Like maybe humble brag, like the team was good, but you were on your way to the league, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a huge like story behind all that, which we can unfold here. But yeah, it went really well at San Diego State. I played there 2 years. And then right before the draft, I kind of had this not season-ending injury, but career-ending. I was able to finish the season. I tore my UCL, pitching actually against Tennessee.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I tore it, and then I had to just kind of reevaluate. And then I decided to retire from baseball.
And that's like your standard Tommy John surgery?
Yeah, Tommy John. Mm-hmm.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, it's wild.
How does that play out? Tell me. I mean, we got time, so
yeah.
So, give me the longer story.
I mean, I can give you I'd actually like to talk about like the entire thing and how I got to San Diego State.
Bring it.
Because I just feel like it's a lot of like temporary defeats.
Yeah.
And I've always been the one I understand the defeat and I know the journey, and I've just had a crazy journey throughout this entire sports career. So yeah, like I've been playing baseball since I was 4. And actually I got a walk-on spot to Texas State out of high school. So in high school, I was a starting quarterback, starting pitcher, and that whole small town deal, which was pretty cool.
It's a big deal in Texas too.
Yeah, huge deal, definitely. Friday night lights football and just like the whole the stadium's full and the whole town shuts down and stuff. So I got that full experience. So yeah, I was a quarterback and stuff, and I kind of had some options in football to go either D3, D2, and then baseball. I just felt like I had an easier route, or at the time I thought I did.
Yeah.
So I walked on to Texas State. I went to a camp during the summer, did well, and they offered me a walk-on. So yeah, I just kind of left home. It was the first time I left home, and I went to Texas State. Little did I know, the partying and all that stuff kind of got to me. Like I said, just going from starting quarterback, starting pitcher, and then all of a sudden D1, it was like the first shot of like, not fame, but just like success.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty huge in my hometown. You rarely hear of people going Division I. So yeah, I went to Texas State, and then I just got caught up in the partying and new friends and not really having a strong base around me.
Was that was it an athlete thing, like where most athletes were partying? Because
yeah,
Texas State, that like you're younger than me, but when I was in college and friends that went there, that was a party school.
Oh yeah, it's still to this day they say it's like the top 5 party school in Texas and stuff. So definitely, yeah, all the baseball guys would throw parties here and there, and I was a freshman, didn't really have the guidance. I wanted to be cool just like them. So yeah, I got into that, and I just didn't perform to par. And right before the season started, we had our fall meetings, and that's when the coach that was like the first time somebody was really straight up with me and told me, hey, you're not good enough. You didn't make the roster. You can come back next year if you want, or you can leave. It's really up to you. And that just like killed me.
Punch to the gut.
It just like, I had never been told no. Like I was a star quarterback, star baseball player. I had always been praised in my sport. And it's just like, the first time I was kind of dagger to the heart. So yeah, I just kind of gave myself that night. I cried all night. I was in my dorm room and I just woke up and was like, look, if you want to do this, like, let's just go ahead and email junior colleges. So there I went. I emailed a bunch of junior colleges, coaches, hey, tryouts. Like, I just got cut from my team. What can I do? So yeah, after that night, I got some responses, and San Jack in Houston actually said, hey, we have a tryout next week if you're up for driving up this way and stuff. And it was scary at the time because it's like I'd never really been away from home, and Houston is like an 8-hour drive from my hometown.
Yeah.
And then 4 hours from Texas State. So yeah, I just drove to Houston and tried out, and I made the team. So
that was, so this is your freshman year.
This was my freshman year.
And so like you transferred within that
semester.
Yeah,
yeah. So actually I finished that semester at Texas State, and then I transferred. So it was like I was trying out for that next season.
Got it.
Yeah. So I ended up trying out, and funny thing is like when I got the offer, where it was just like, hey, you're getting a walk-on spot. There's no scholarship in junior college or for us to give you at the time. It's like, we see how hard you work. We want you on this team,
nice.
And you're going to try out this next fall for us. So it wasn't even like a guarantee. So yeah, I ended up finishing the season at Texas State, kind of cleaned up my act, tried to lean on like my parents and good friends from home. I would travel back home a lot just to kind of get a good, strong base again. Mm-hmm. Finish the season, and then that's when I transitioned over to Houston.
Nice.
Yeah.
So in that kind of like moment in the mirror situation, it was like, hey, I got to do something about this. But the partying too was part of that, or?
Yeah, everything. I mean, it was definitely the partying and stuff, but I just felt like, which is weird. I didn't know how I understood at the time because I was so young, that I wasn't doing the right things, and that if I really wanted to pursue this dream, that I'd have to make those sacrifices and kind of clean up everything. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really, like I said, I didn't have a strong base just because I was away from home. And I'm the type of person, I'm a lot better now, but I'm the type of person where I like to deal with a lot of things on my own. So I shut down and just kind of rethink things and do it all myself. So it was kind of weird for me to be able to get out of that kind of on my own.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And so you make it to San Jack, and things seem like they go well.
Yeah, so at San Jack, actually, it was the same thing. It was the same scenario where it's like you're pretty much trying out in the fall. The only issue is there's like 4 teams because there's no rules in San Jack. So there's like 90 guys trying to compete for a 30 roster spot.
Oh, dude.
So, yeah, in the fall, I'm doing the exact same thing, except it's a small school. There's nothing else to do. We had apartments where it was like 5 of us to a 2-bedroom apartment. And it was just like the craziest grind, right? Like, oh man. So yeah, I'm doing the same thing, except this approach is like, I'm not partying, right? I'm showing up every single day just like I used to. And every single rep, I'm trying to go 110%. It's not just, hey, I'm here, like I made it kind of approach. So in every sprint, every workout, I'm trying to win the workout. So it's not just about, hey, I'm trying to make the team. It's like, I'm going to win today. I'm going to win this rep. I'm going to win. I wasn't that good, but I think it was just the mindset of I'm going to win every rep. And it just kind of forced myself to kind of believe in it. Mm-hmm. So sure enough, we get the meeting again right before the spring. And I ended up not going back for Christmas break. I just said I'm going to work through winter break and show the coaches that I'm here. Like, let the guys leave, and even though I'm not that good, I'm going to show them how committed I am to it. So I stayed with one of my friends who he owns a gym, or he has a gym in his home, and he has like the top throwing programs and coaches and stuff. So I got to work with him the first semester and then through winter break. And actually me staying, he said, hey, you know what, why don't you stop being a two-way guy? Because I was playing shortstop and pitcher. And why don't you just pitch? Why don't you just focus on throwing? We'll work on your mechanics. We'll get you throwing 95, 96, and just focus on one thing. And during that winter break is when it just like
took off.
It took off. Yeah, it took off. So worked on that. And then we had like a World Series, a mini World Series right when people got back from winter break. And I had like 2 good outings, and they had the meeting, and the coaches said, hey, I just want to let you know, like, at the moment, you're not good enough to make the roster. And I just like, sat in my chair and I broke my heart. And he's like, but you're the hardest working person I've ever met, and we're going to keep you, and we're going to let you play the season. I was just like,
nice.
The relief, but also like the same words that my freshman coach said. Yeah. So yeah, I went through that year, and it's just like.
So was it, I wonder, like you said, failures kind of, you've had these ups and downs. It sounds like it's a theme. But when you went to Texas State, didn't work out, was the drive from like, or I guess the first question is, what was that, like, that was your first failure. So I imagine internalizing that and then having to kind of like face friends and family, like, how did that affect you?
Yeah, it was tough because we'll get to this like as we go on, but at the times, or in those moments, I was obviously doing everything for the wrong reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was more for ego, and let me go home and tell my family I did this, and I'm a star in this, and my coach praised me in that. And as the years went on, like I that was like what I focused on, you know? And like, I think that's why it hit me so hard when these coaches would tell me and have that real conversation, like, you aren't doing well, and these are the reasons why, and you need to go evaluate and find something else. And I think that's why it hit me so hard, because I had never had those conversations growing up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, I'm going to do everything I can for the praise of others.
Right,
you know?
right. Which obviously is a recipe for disaster, because when it goes away, it hits hard.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, tremendous. Okay, so he keeps you on the team.
Yeah.
Obviously, probably a blessing in a lot of ways that he was still checking your ego, but praising your hard work.
Yeah.
And so where to go from there?
So I make the team, and we go into spring, which is the season. And at that time, I'm still developing. So I was throwing around 88 to 90 miles an hour, which is average at that time. They're throwing harder now. But, I kept working with my buddy, who's one of my best friends now, and he introduced me to Tom House, which is like the throwing doctor. He works with like Tom Brady, Drew Brees. And I got to work under Randy Wishmeyer, who's his right-hand man. So I worked for an entire year. Mind you that junior college isn't like no joke when it comes to training, because there's no rules. So you're there, you show up at 9 a.m. and you don't leave till 7 p.m. at night. And it's every single day. There's no off days just because they have no rules. Whereas NCAA, you're only allowed a certain amount of hours to train. And then, so it's like, I spent 2 years at San Jack, and that 2 years it didn't only shape me, but it just like, it changed my whole perspective on things. So yeah, I worked with him, and then I ended up pitching a couple innings here and there in my first season. And I just kind of started getting the confidence back. Eventually I started throwing around 92, 93. Then it was like 94, 95. And it was just, a constant like confidence boost. Plus I'm doing a lot better performance wise, working through that first year.
This may be a little rabbit hole, but I just can't not ask, like,
no, yeah, of course.
that throwing doc.
Yeah.
What's his specialty? Like, what is it? Mechanics? Is it body work? Is it all of it?
It's everything. So Tom House basically studied the shoulder and the elbow for 12 years, and how mechanics can translate from the tip of your toes all the way through the fingers. And it's all rotational, how to transfer energy from the bottom through your core. He can basically watch you and say, hey, you're leaking your power from your core. We're going to do this to tweak it. Plus we're going to strengthen it this way. And then you see the results, how everything just like comes.
Tell me, like, give me I'm fascinated. Like, give me an example.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And it's crazy how much I learned about it. But for instance, I leaked a lot of my power through my core, right? My legs are super strong. My trunk is super big. I am short in stature when it comes to pitching. But I was doing, like, he would translate it over to this Cuban coach I had at the time. So he would have me on these vibrating plates where I'd be holding 2-minute planks into tabletops, into like strengthening everything in my core, but we're also like strengthening my scaps. We're also doing a bunch of like power rotational stuff that like, it wasn't just one thing. I trained for those 2 years, and I'm telling you, we dissected anywhere from the way my wrist motion is to I sort of became a robot when it came to pitching.
Yeah.
Like, if a pitch was off, I knew why. And if I wasn't throwing that hard at that time, I knew why. And it was just like, it was kind of like I was like it was a laboratory.
Yeah,
and I was just
and a master class in like kinesthetic awareness, and I can only imagine how that translated to CrossFit eventually.
Yeah. It was wild, and it was nice because of the strong support I had. So I was how old was I? 24, 25 at the time. And I was in that gym all day, every day. Just, what can I do better? What can I do better? What can I do better? And like I said, at that time, it was all about the praise. So I was doing it. How can I prove these coaches wrong? How can I, come back and show them? And so.
Cool. When did you, I'm sure it's part of the story, but when did you graduate from that train of thought, or how? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're looking for praise. Did it? Or?
I just turned 30, and it happened a couple months ago.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a long process.
There's a ton more in between before finding that. Yeah.
Well, keep walking me through it. I want to hear about San Diego State too, because that seems like it's a big move.
Yeah. So I ended up pitching the first year. Then I went the second year in junior college, and I was one of the top closers in the nation. I was throwing around 95, 96 at that time. Everything was going great. I had the confidence. I had the support. I learned a lot. At that time, I didn't have a girlfriend. I was just so hyper-focused on the ultimate goal, which is make the major leagues.
Yeah.
So my last season at San Jack, I actually had a ton of offers, 12 to 13 offers from around the nation. And these are teams like Baylor, UCF, San Diego State, Kansas State, like a ton of like big schools. And San Diego State actually flew me out to go see California. So it was the first time I had ever left like Texas, honestly, So I get to California, I'm like, dude, this place is amazing.
It's a hard thing to say no to.
Yeah. Not only are they trying to just like show me the school, they're trying to recruit me. So they're showing me the beaches and the restaurants and taking me out to eat. And it's just like, I had the full experience in 1-2 days, and I just fell in love with San Diego State.
Didn't even check anything else out?
Honestly, no.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. I didn't go anywhere else. That was my one visit, which is funny because I also had USD. And so that's San Diego University, and I went to San Diego State. And they were recruiting me as well. So when I was on my visit, they had said, hey, you should come over to our school. And I just kind of was like, no, like they flew me out. I'm going to stay with them and be loyal. And, so I ended up going to San Diego State and committing. Which there it is again, right? The praise, and like I got to tell my family, go back home, and everyone in my hometown coming out in newspapers, which is funny. Right before I committed to San Diego State, the Texas State coach called me and said, hey, we have a scholarship.
Hey, my bad.
Hey, we see your development. We have a scholarship for you. And I just kind of, hey, you know what? Like, thank you for the offer, but I'm going to end up going to San Diego State, which was cool. So once again, that kind of the praise there, and just felt really good about going to San Diego State, and then got to San Diego State and started my career there.
And the progress continued. Like, did you?
Oh yeah. So it never ends. Just kind of those defeats and stuff. So I had my first year again, pitching really well. Everything's going great. And then actually Tennessee comes to we had like this Tony Gwynn Classic, which is like Tennessee, Oklahoma, these bigger schools. And my coach is like, hey, you're going to start against Tennessee, even though I was closing at the time. So it was my first kind of official start, and they wanted to ride me and see how far I can go and just kind of assess. So I think that night I was throwing the hardest I'd ever thrown. I was like topping 96, 97. Nice. Like it just felt good. And in the 4th inning, I threw 4 shutout innings. And that last inning, my coach said, hey, this is your last one. We're going to pull you back. We like what we see. We'll work on you being a starter. So I had 4 shutout innings. I struck 2 batters out, and that 3rd batter came up. And they're the scouts. They're recording. They're marking everything down. And I had 2 strikes on the guy, and I just remember saying in my head, like, this is the nastiest slider I'm going to throw. I'm going to just let this one go, and I'm going to show everyone. Like, so there I go. I threw as hard as I could, and halfway through, I just felt my arm pop. Like, I just felt it pop, and I felt the tingling down my fingers. And I'd been throwing all my life, so I know exactly what this is, right? So it pops, and I go to grab my hamstring, right? And I grab my hamstring, and I'm limping. And I call the trainer. I'm like, hey, come get me. My hamstring's hurting. And he comes up. He's like, dude, I just tore my UCL. He's like, well, why are you grabbing your hamstring? I'm like, dude, there's 80 scouts here. They can't know it's my arm. Like, we don't know what it is. So I'm like limping off like it's my hamstring.
No way.
Yeah.
What presence of mind.
Yeah. But there I go. Like,
Yeah.
I'm focused on everything, focused on everything else. So I'm like walking off. So it takes a couple weeks. It's like throbbing pain. And at that time, my coach wasn't allowing me to get the MRI. He's like, hey, we're going to pitch you on Tuesday. We got number 25 USD, right? I'm like, dude, my arm is throbbing. Like, I don't think I can throw.
It ain't happening, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. He's like, look, we'll just throw all fastballs. I don't care how hard you throw. So I'm like, okay, like, let's do it. So we go to USD. It's at home. They're number 25 in the nation.
Whoa, hold on.
Let's skip to it.
You buy into this. Why? Pressure, like, I mean, your mind,
No, I think I just, like, growing up, I've had some hard coaches, and it's just like, hey, dude, it's a pain. Get through it. You can do it. Like,
okay.
High school football, played with the broken fibula, just like torn meniscus. Like
but was there part of you that thought like, hey, this isn't that serious and I can play through it, or you knew?
No, I knew it was completely torn because I was throbbing, but I just like I said, I've played through major injuries all my life. It was another thing I could,
Got it. Yeah.
Plus, it's like, okay, I'll show you. It's not good, right?
Yep.
Like I'll give you what you want, but it's not gonna.
You're not gonna like it. Yeah.
No. So, top 25, go up, 4 shutout innings, all fastballs. I'm only throwing 92, 93, in, out, up, down, 4 shutout innings, and my arm was hanging by. I was like throbbing, shaking. I come out of the inning. I said, here, I give you your 4 innings. I'm done. Give me my MRI. Like, it's clear, like, it's shaking. He's like, you earned it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things. Yeah. He's like, you earned it. So I'm like, okay.
Dang.
Yeah.
You guys won the game?
So we won the game. Yeah, we won the game.
Goodness.
I think it was like 3-2. Yeah, so those 4 shutout innings were great.
Yeah.
It was so we won the game. And then I ended up getting that MRI that next week, and it was full reconstructive surgery, completely tore off the bone. There's nothing you can do. So there I am again, like, okay, well, I know Tommy John takes 2.5 years to come back from, 2 years with good physical therapy. I also know a couple friends that have gotten it and re-tore it right after.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I going to, there I go again. And strong support, then something like that happens, no one's there.
Really?
Yeah.
They just left you out on the ass.
Yeah, I mean, D1 baseball is a business, Like, yeah, they care about the players, but at the end of the day, they want to win.
Sure.
So it's just kind of like, well, what are you going to do? So I kind of asked the doctor, hey, give me some options. So he's like, you get full reconstructive surgery, then you do the rehab. We do PRP, which is 50-50, and then we do a cortisone shot, and you don't really feel it for the rest, So I went home, talked to my parents, and I said, you know what, like, I think, like, this is the decision I made for myself for the first time, and I knew at the end of the day it would kind of upset my dad. But I said, you know what, like, I've done good. Like, I did what I wanted to do. Yeah, Major League Baseball was the ultimate goal, but I got myself here. I'm gonna get, I'm gonna graduate from Division I. I'm in California. I've had a great career. I've pitched against some top teams. if I get the surgery, that puts me at 27, coming back to college, trying to get drafted again, even though they know my UCL is torn, so they're going to give me senior money. Then that puts me 28, 29, trying to get through the AAA, single A, double A. That's a 5-6 year process. So I'm going to get the cortisone, and I'm going to keep pitching through my season.
Dude, that's not where I thought you were going with this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to enjoy these next year. I'm going to enjoy this next year and a half. I'm going to get the cortisone. I'm going to pitch. I'm going to enjoy college. I'm going to enjoy me getting here, you know? So I got the cortisone, took 12 days off, came back, wasn't throwing as hard as I was. I was like 90, 91. Had a successful season. And I got some senior signs from some big league teams after. Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
So senior sign is they don't draft you, but they give you senior sign money where it's like, hey, you're a senior. You can either come or don't. It's up to you, but here's $5,000. Like,
oh,
make
nice.
it last. You know?
Okay.
Mind you, you get minimum if you go play, like you get like $1,100 a month from them.
Because you're going to the minors and
yeah,
gotta do that
there's really no money in it. So it's like whatever you get as a signing bonus is what you make last over the years till you hit AAA, where they start paying you 6 figures and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I knew I was going to get senior sign. But yeah, so I didn't say this part. So that happened 2 weeks before the draft, right? So I was getting calls and letters like, hey, we're going to draft you this, this, and this before I tore my arm. Yeah. So, it happened a week before, and right before the draft, my agent calls me. He's like, hey, unfortunately, you're going to have to tell these scouts that it wasn't your hamstring, because they still thought it was my hamstring, right? He's like, because you got the MRI, they're going to get your medical records, and if they sign you, you can't go back to college, and they're not going to take you. So he's like, you're going to have to call. And at that time, I'm sitting there, and I'm having these scouts call me. They're like, hey, we plan on taking you here. Would you take $500,000? Would you take $300,000? Would you take $200,000? And I'm like, a college student,
like,
and I was in junior college, and I got cut from my Texas State, and I just didn't really understand, you know, at the time. So they're throwing all these numbers at me, and this was right before I tore my arm. So I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get drafted. Like, I'm making it happen, you know. So yeah, I had to call each scout and say, hey, you know what? Like, unfortunately, it was my elbow. And, okay, yeah, we'll see you next year. Like, hope you get better. So I had to call the scouts, right before the draft. So
what a heartbreak.
Yeah, and then we sat in the draft, and I'm just watching all my buddies, like, oh, Tyler Atkinson gets drafted by the Dodgers, and, like, sitting right next to me. I'm like, yeah, but where am I? Like,
right.
Yeah, so.
What a heartbreak, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So the cortisone, I've had cortisone before. I can only imagine that it doesn't take away all the pain. So you played through that.
Yeah. So luckily I had an amazing physical therapist at the time. San Diego State, he did this, like, I mean, you've heard of Graston, right?
Yeah.
He did these, like, old techniques that apparently they ran on rats and stuff, and, like, rubbed the ligament a certain way and helped. And, like, dude, I would go 2 hours before practice, 2 hours after practice every single day, doing rehab and strengthening my forearm, my bicep, just to relieve the pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't reattach. It's shot up, and unless you get reconstructive surgery where they pull from your hamstring or your wrist, they attach it back. So got the cortisone, and I haven't felt it since.
Well, to this day, no surgery?
To this day, no surgery.
No way.
Yeah, which there's a funny story on that. Right before the CrossFit Games last year, I tore my hamstring, and I had to get an MRI. So
actually tore your hamstring. You weren't just.
Well, I tore more than.
Wasn't just for the crowd.
No, I tore my hamstring. I have a torn labrum, and I torn my psoas. So all that was right before the games last year, or when we won it on team. So I got the MRI, and I got ultrasound. Confirmed all of that, but I was curious. I was like, hey, so I want to check something. I tore my UCL in college, and I never got it fixed. Can you tell me what's going on with it, or if it reattached or something?
Yeah.
So he goes over it, and he's like, yeah, that's weird. I don't know how you're using your elbow. Like, your ligament's completely off. He's like, oh, I see. So you trained the muscle to act as your UCL. So I guess all that rehab and, like,
just adaptation.
Yeah, so it adapted. So I used the muscle. I don't know what muscle, but it acts as, like, the UCL to where it doesn't allow my bones to open up.
Body is an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's wild.
Let's call the Dodgers, bro.
Yeah, hey, I'm back.
So where in all this kind of madness does CrossFit come into your life?
Yeah, so
Was it when it was all done and dusted?
So yeah, everything was done. I was actually in a very bad place when I found CrossFit, but I finished baseball. I graduated. I had a girlfriend at the time who I thought I was going to marry. We broke up. So I was in a dark place. I was very depressed. I was living on my own in San Diego. All my friends got drafted, and I'm sitting there in my apartment not knowing. Like, that was the first time where I didn't have sports.
Right.
Like, I had done sports since I was 4. I always had a coach, and it just all was done. Like, it all ended for me, and I was just sitting in my apartment, and yeah, I was walking around downtown San Diego, and I was trying to buy some shoes or something. There was a shoe store, and I walked in the gym, and I saw banners up, and it was like Josh. Now at the time I know, but it was Josh Bridges and like a couple other, Lauren Fisher and Rasmus, and there was banners all over the place. And I just remember, like, this is cool. I don't know what this is. It's cool. I see everyone getting after it, like the classes and stuff. But I saw I forgot what year it was, but it was when Rasmus, Nunu, they won the cup. It was like 15, 6, 14 or something like that. And I just said, like, I want to do that. I don't know what that is, but I want to hold that. Like, I want to be that. The praise,
give me that thing,
you know? I want to be that.
Yeah.
So I joined a week of classes, and it was free at the time. I didn't really have money because I was out of college and stuff. So I went, I loved it, and Bryce and a couple other coaches were like, man, you're really good. Like, you know how to use your body well and stuff. And I just kind of told them I was a Division I player, and they were like, man, if you really stick to this, you can be really good. I was like, unfortunately, I can't afford it, but maybe I'll come back and, so I did the week, left, back in a depressed state, and I didn't even think about it. I was just like, because I had so much going on at the time.
Right.
So ended up getting like a janitor job at this gym to work my way up through there. And then after like 4 months, I was like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm going to go back. So I went back and I just locked myself in on a credit card for like a year, like where it just takes it out monthly.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. So I just like went for a year and started the group classes. And then eventually I emailed Tino at the time and was like, hey, I don't care how long this takes, but I want to eventually be in the class where like Lauren Fisher and them, where they show up to train at like 9.
Right.
And yeah, he allowed me. He's like, hey, just come on in. So I just started going in. And
so that progress, I mean, like, how long was it before you were with the big dogs?
So it took me like 5 or 6 months. I was doing normal classes, and then there's a competitive class where it's like, if people want to do like local comps.
Yes.
And so I met my best friend there, Max. And we kind of took it upon us to be like, we're called the apes, the gorillas. Like, we're going to show up every single day. We're going to smile. We're going to greet ourselves, and we're going to build this community in this comp class. Right. So we started and we built that class up to like 15 of us, like trying to compete, pushing each other, showing up every day. And it was just like an awesome community, 10 to 15 people. And we just wanted to be like Rasmus and Lauren Fisher and all these guys, right? Just pushing our way every single day. And then one day Max is like, dude, we can do this. Like, we can make a CrossFit Invictus team. Let's just like email Tino. Let's do this thing. And so we emailed Tino. And we're like, hey, we don't care how long it takes. And we understand that, like, we were just kind of scared.
You're just trying
like,
to be, dip a toe.
Like, hey, we don't care if it takes a year from now, but just let us, like, eventually.
Yes.
And Tino's like, yes, dude, we love what you've done in the comp class, which unfortunately at the time, like when he allowed us to go and train with them, the comp class died. Like, it just kind of like petered out.
You guys were kind of the heart and soul. Yeah.
Yeah. Which that made me kind of sad because it was nice, like, just like friends and having fun.
Yeah,
and, like,
dude, of course.
We're all trying to do this thing. But yeah, he gave us the opportunity. We just started training, and from that point on, it was like, okay, this is sports again.
Yeah,
like, I'm back in it.
Was it? Did you get that taste like right away? Were you like?
Oh yeah. As soon as he said yes, I was like, I quit drinking alcohol. I stopped drinking caffeine. I started counting my food. I'm like, we're doing this. Like, this is my redemption.
Yes.
You know? Like, this is, I'm back.
And so that was an actual competitive team you guys formed immediately, or was it more like you got to play around with those guys?
Oh no, like we got to play around, but it was our goal like to go team together on an Invictus team, whether it was like the 3rd, 4th string team, whatever it was. We're just gonna work our way up to the team Invictus, you know, the top. And yeah, at the time, like it's hard to, I mean, as a coach, like to give you false hope or be like, hey, Jorge, come on. So you have to work your way up.
Yeah,
like it's not just, you know, so showing up every single day, little wins. Oh, I beat Eric Carmody today. Like, good. I beat Rasmus on this one, and just kind of building that every single day, showing up every day, getting the trust of people. And then luckily, Jen Ryan, and so 2019 was my first year, and we went to the games. Yeah, I think I won my first year, 2020 we went to the games.
Okay.
But Jen Ryan, they still didn't want me on the team, like CJ and them, which is understandable because I'm so new to the sport. Yeah, right. And I couldn't even do ring muscle-ups. Jen Ryan and Brittany Weiss had a team, and they were kind of looking for males and stuff. And Jen Ryan and Britt both told CJ he needs to be on our team. Like, he has it. Obviously, he needs work.
Some refinement, yeah.
You know, but yeah, so as soon as they did that for me, it was like it flipped. Like I didn't let myself fail anything, or I didn't let myself, I took it upon myself to be the leader of the team and just give everything. And so, yeah, we ended up going to the games that year, and it just, now they say, at the time I didn't know, but now they say I was the leader of the team, even though I was like the new guy. Cause it's just like,
well, you had that sports experience too, right?
Yeah,
like you brought a lot with you, and the attitude, clearly.
Yeah.
What a great place to land. Like,
I know.
I started my CrossFit career in San Diego also, but
nice.
I was up in Encinitas, and this was long enough ago to where if you had a question about, like, literally I could pick up the phone and call CJ, who owned an opposing gym theoretically, 30 miles away from each other. But he would just, oh, dude, yeah, here's how we do it. Hey, let me send you some documents.
That's
like,
so cool.
Here's how we do X, Y, and Z. Like, you'd see each other often at, like, seminars and stuff. So it was a much smaller world at that point. But what he created in terms of community and, like, for you to have that as your first exposure it
was amazing.
A gift.
Like, yeah, I mean, not only did I have the support of, like, eventually of the, like, the people I was competing with at the time, but just, like, the members, and, like, they just had, like, good quality people, good coaches, like,
yeah.
It was a great experience out there for sure.
Yeah. And you're in San Diego.
I know. It was amazing. Besides me being a janitor at that time, there was nothing better. Like it was, and the reason I was a janitor was because I was trying to work my way up in the corporate gym, trying to be a personal trainer.
Sure.
So I started as a janitor because that was the only spot that they had open. I said, you know what, I'll show you. Like, so yeah, but even at that gym till this day, like the members, and I was eventually a coach there after being a janitor, and those people were still very supportive of my career and stuff. So I met a ton of great people out there, and it's
very authentic, and they've got deep roots, like I said, like CJ goes so far back into seminar training and lots of the early days stuff, and that whole group that was surrounding him. I got a lot of love for Invictus. So, question, when you said, like, immediately you want to be on a team, was there no inkling of being an individual? Like, did that ever cross your mind at that point in time, really?
No, at that point, I've been a team athlete since I was 4. I've never done anything individual. Yeah. So it was like, I want to be Team Invictus. I'm going to be Team Invictus. And at that time, it took, I think after my first year where we took 17th, I said, I want to win the CrossFit Games on a team. I don't care how long it takes. I understand it's a process, but I want to.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, it started.
And it went pretty quick.
Yeah, it was definitely quick, but like you said, I had the team experience.
Yeah.
So I understood how to mesh with my team, how to lead my team. The only thing I lacked were obviously the skills and obviously how to, like, do CrossFit at the time, which I knew I could just show up and work on it and to get better. It's all a process.
Yeah.
But I think that was my favorite part. And that till this day, that's my favorite part is like just being on a team, pushing my teammates, like helping them grow in sport. Like that's my absolute favorite thing to do. And even being individual now, like I see that even more, you know.
Could you miss it, you mean?
Yeah, I miss it 100. Yeah, 100%. It's just, to me, there's more purpose. Like, you know, this is something we can talk about more on how I've changed my mindset on it. But I just felt like when I first started individual, it's just like for me, it was very selfish. Like it's feeding into that praise and the ego side. And whereas team, I could just focus on their growth, you know, and when we won the games and we took third, I cared more about how they felt than how I felt. So
it's a massive difference. And speaking as someone who's never even sniffed coming close to the CrossFit Games, you can see like the pressure, but also the person who thrives in that atmosphere. Like it's much less like baseball and more like track and field, for example, where it's like, you are in charge. You're you're the captain of your ship and you're the sole person that's going to be feeling the ramifications or the glory. But I get it why team would be more attractive in some respects. So since we're already there, like let's talk about that. We'll go back. Obviously, we're skipping over a gold medal and a bronze medal.
No.
We'll get back to that. But why then? What was the first inkling of wanting to go individual or give it a shot?
Yeah, so I mean, when I made the goal of winning the games on team, I had a goal of winning it individual as well. Okay. So I think right after we won that and we did the thing, that's when I was like, okay, it's time for the new goal, you know? Like it's plus like
you kind of planted the flag, you'd been there, done that.
Yeah, I had been there, and I also had that thing where I'm like, okay, I'm 29 now. I need to kind of, if I want to try individual, I need to jump in. Plus, I also had the option of coming here. And I just felt like at the time, after winning the games, I was very comfortable in San Diego. I had a lot of good people. My job was great. The gym was awesome. We won the games. And I just felt like it was like the next chapter on growth and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to, like, I wanted to lean into that.
I get that.
So I knew that was like the next thing where it was going to break me down a little bit and kind of get me, you know, because I felt like I could have gone team another 2-3 years and my teammates would have done the same and just kind of, we would have enjoyed that process and doing it again. But I wasn't just comfortable with CrossFit. I was comfortable in my life, too comfortable, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect it. Not everyone's like that. Most people seek comfort. So it's really cool. One, that you seem really cerebral. I mean, even in the gym, like I see the way that you think, like in videos and programming. But the fact that you've got multi-year plans and you've got goals, it's really respectable. I am going to jump around. I apologize, but we'll go back. So like that first year, 2020, there was no teams, right? And so it was 21 was your first year at the games, or 19?
I'm so bad with dates. I think it was. No, yeah, 21.
Okay.
It was 21. Yeah.
So 21.
It was after COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, because COVID that's when I locked myself in the garage and that's where I caught up.
Okay.
Like I knew I could catch up in COVID just because there was so much uncertainty where I was like, I'm gonna do 3 a days this time just to kind of catch up and do my gymnastics and stuff. And
awesome.
That allowed me to, because no one was competing at the time, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you first got there, I mean, you had been on baseball fields, you'd been on the pitcher's mound, and you'd been around all these amazing athletes. So were you, starstruck's not the right word, but like, was the experience overwhelming, or was it just, what was your first games experience like?
It wasn't, I understand the pressures and stuff because I've been through some crazy pressures in college and I was a closer. I'd come in, you know, in the heat of things and had to close it out if not.
Yeah.
And I had, at times I didn't close it out. So right. I felt everything, you know. But I think it was great having Jen and, you know, Ryan and Britt and that had been there before and just like their comfort. They knew it didn't matter how much I failed. They knew I was the leader. They made me feel like the leader, you know?
Yep.
So I had a good base there. CJ, everyone made me feel really good about being out there. We took 17th, but it was because Jen had a broken hand and she had to compete through it. So it wasn't like we failed. It was, I don't know, it was a great experience for me.
Yeah.
And that just like having them and that, it just like had that taste in my mouth where I'm like, okay, we can come back and do this thing. So it was a great experience for me.
Knew you could do it. And then the next year, you really like throwing blows with Froning. And there was a lot of powerful teams in that games. Tell me about the highlights from that year.
Yeah, that year we took third. And that was like the year where it kind of gave us the confidence where it's like, we belong, you know?
Yes.
Like, we have things to fix, obviously, but the whole time I'm watching Rich and trying to learn. Like, it's not just, we're here, we're going to try to do our best. No, I'm watching what he's doing. I'm watching how he leads his team. And there was a couple of times where I followed and other times where I went against it. And the times I went against what Rich was doing, we'd lose. Like, we'd get beat, you know?
Yeah.
But there was things like where I'd watch him do the bob and stuff. And I'm like, we're going to do exactly that. You know, we're going to break every 5. And we're not going to sprint like we did the first year we were here, you know? And when we started doing that, I started noticing we were taking second to him, third to him. So I'm like, these are the things we can tweak in practice, because you're not going to reinvent the wheel. Like, he knows.
Something's working.
Yeah, something's working. Why reinvent the wheel, you know?
Yeah.
So I studied him, and I just took that in the off season. And from the point that we took third on the podium, we said, we're coming back next year and we're going to win it. And from that point on, I watched, we tweaked, and every single day we just took the approach, you know, to training. So
yeah. I love that. And it seemed actually the first time I ever interacted, I think, in a real way with you was when we all went to Italy. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like you and Rich had a relation. Like, on the field, you guys kind of broed out. Were you actually like in contact with him at that games where you took third, or were you just watching and learning?
Yeah, I was watching and learning at that time. I mean, obviously, like, I look up to Rich. Like, that's who I want to be, you know, like, not just in CrossFit, but just family man and how he runs things and business and just everything.
Yeah.
The person he is. But yeah, at that time I wasn't talking, but I mean, we all know who Rich is in the sport. And, but Italy was amazing. Just, I don't know. It just didn't feel like, and everyone can kind of attest to this, it's not Rich Froning. You're speaking to an awesome person. Like, it's just he doesn't act like he's, you know, the guy.
Right.
And yeah, he opened up to me, and it's a cool story that I tell someone, like, I mean, a lot of people, but in Italy, where I realized, like, man, this guy's different, you know? Like,
well, and let's set the stage real quick, because this was a really random event.
Yeah, it was.
It was awesome, but it was somebody reached out to us and they were like, hey, we're going to this, we're hosting this large event in Sardinia, which I had heard of and of course wanted to go to. But it was basically kind of like backyard barbecue, but they had you guys and they had Froning's team. It was like, okay, let's do this.
So I think that was one of my, like, favorite competitions.
It was awesome.
It was, right? It was such a small competition, but it's just, like, super awesome. So yeah, like, I was in the same boat. Like, what is this? What is Sardinia? Why am I here? Like, why are we going there, you know? So we ended up going, and yeah, I got to meet Rich, and we kind of started joking about things and stuff. And, like, I remember this point is where I was like, man, this guy's different in a like, amazing way, right? So we're doing this worm clean and jerk. I don't remember the workout, but it was worm clean and jerk and the double unders, right? So we're ahead of Mayhem, and we're trying to beat Rich.
Of course,
that's our thing, you know? So we're going, right? And I think I'm the last one on the dubs, and the mat was flipped up, and I kept tripping on it. But I didn't know what was going on because I didn't see the mat. So I'm just like, what's going on? Why am I tripping? Well, Rich is doing cleans, and as he's doing cleans, he goes, Jorge, you're tripping on the mat, scoot back. I'm like, he's not even like, what's going on? Like, he's in cruise cleans, control. Like, and he's watching everything. I'm just like, oh, okay. And I step back, do it. And then it was just like, dude, this guy is in the midst of working out, and he's watching everything. Yes. He knows everything that's going on.
It's like, have you ever tried jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
So if you ever roll with like a black belt and you're not really experienced, it's the funniest thing in the world when, like, you think you got this dude pinned and you got, he's like, you know, you're just choking as hard as you can on his neck, and he's like, hey, get your elbow a little bit higher. And you're like, oh, that's, you're just you're letting me do this right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, same. So was that like, did the conversations, at least in a joking way, about you coming here start then, or was that just kind of open the door?
Yeah. So it was funny because at that time, like, I didn't really, that was the first time we had like kind of met and like introduced and talked and stuff. And I had always wanted to, but like, I don't want to bother him and stuff. So that was the first time. Facundo would tell me like, hey dude, I think he kind of likes you and stuff. I'm like, really? Like, this is great. So we'd end up going back to the hotel and stuff. And it was cool because I mean, Trice is there and stuff, and they're all playing by the pool, and so are we. And so I just kind of went up and was like, dude, I'm going to just try to talk to him like normal and just be a friend and see if he wants to. If not, I'll kind of come back. And yeah, we got on some great topics, baseball and just like past sports. And he played baseball. And it was just like, it was cool to come back from the events and competing to come hang out with him.
Yes.
Like, you know, as friends, and like we're all out there, his family, like Hillary's out there, and we're throwing the ball with the kids. And that's why I like Sardinia so much, because it's just like we got to do what we love, which is compete, but we also like, I got to hang out with one of my idols, having fun, not talking CrossFit, you know, like got to know him. And then from that point on, it was like, hey, here's my number. If you ever want to come to Mayhem, let me know. You're more than welcome. Come train, have fun. You don't have to come, whatever you want to do. And so at that point, it was when I would get like random texts, how like he'd text me, how you doing? I'd text him. And then he just like wanted to see my growth overall. And he'd watch me on certain videos and stuff. And he'd like, hey, you can do this different. Or how to beat any team, like when we're competing and stuff. He'd give me kind of advice and stuff. So
nice.
It was great. Yeah.
See a little bird in your ear in 23.
Oh yeah. The best bird to have too.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and I remember those interactions too. Like, you know, you guys got a lot of shared DNA, especially the baseball stuff.
Yeah.
And it is pleasant. I think that whenever I meet celebrities, like I try and poke holes, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. You know, I'm like, are you who you say you are? Like on camera and on video. And Rich is very, what you see is what you get.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and especially, you bring your kids on a trip like that, and like nothing that you see about Rich in Sardinia is going to be much different than Rich in Cookeville. You know.
So I can attest to that for sure.
Right?
It's the same. It's the same. It's awesome.
And that invitation to Cookeville is always, I think that he casts that out a lot, and people think he's not serious.
Yeah, I think.
But those who take it seriously, they show up.
Yeah.
You know?
At the time, I didn't, because it's just like, dude, he's my idol. What does he mean? Like, does he mean to just come hang out?
Yeah,
or, you know? So it was nice to take him up on it just because of what has happened in the last year and a half or two. But yeah, it's hard to take that serious, you know?
Yeah.
I see him as the Michael Jordan of CrossFit.
Right.
Like, Michael Jordan tells you, hey, come
shoot some hoops, bro.
You're like, I don't know.
So what was that? I'm trying to remember the first time. I remember you came out just to kind of visit and hang, and I'm guessing it was kind of like was it scouting mission or dip
Yeah,
in the toe?
so that was after that we took third.
I think you took third, and then it was Sardinia, and then you won, right?
Yeah. So right after Sardinia is when I came for like an athlete camp.
Okay, that's right.
Right? And at that time, it was like, okay, I'm going to take him up on his offer. I do want to see him and hang out and get to work out with him, but I also want to learn for next year, you know? Like, I'm going to come out. I'm going to see how it is. I'm going to pick his brain a little bit, see if he can give me anything for this upcoming season before we won. And I was I was supposed to be here for a week, and I ended up extending to 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So the first week was the athlete camp, learned a ton. And then that next week was hang out with Rich, have some fun, work out, learn from him. So I got like the best of both worlds when I came.
Yeah. Love it. And when did you decide? Like, was it when you won the games? Did you know, hey, I need something different?
No, I think the whole year I just didn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's where I want to be. I mean, he's somebody to like I can follow and learn, and not only in CrossFit, but just the way he lives and stuff. So I had been thinking about it all season long, and then I think right before the games is when I was like, I think I'm gonna do it. You know?
Nice.
Yeah.
So those are big expectations, right? Like he says, the Michael Jordan, he's an idol, and then you get out here. So how did expectations meet reality? Like, what's been your experience?
Yeah, I think
good, bad, and otherwise.
Yeah. I think it's even bigger than I thought, you know? And this goes back to why I'm doing things now. Like, I I got here and it took me 4 to 5 months to figure it out. But like I said, I came here obviously seeking, right?
Yeah.
I got here and I said, I'm going to go individual. And I remember even texting Rich a couple times, hey, help me win the games individual. You know, like I'll do whatever it takes. Like that same thing I did in Invictus. And him, without doing it, led me to the way I'm thinking now in a great way. So
how do you mean?
He didn't flat out say, I'm going to get you there. He didn't flat out say, I'm going to cut what I'm doing and coach you and do this kind of thing. It was like little breadcrumbs where it's like, kind of just like, you're going to do this on your own thing. You know, you're going to have but I'm starting to realize now that it's not really about that. You know, like being here, it's the best CrossFit gym in the world. It has the best equipment. It has the best coaching. But I always explain that CrossFit Mayhem is not only the best CrossFit gym in the world, but it's the best CrossFit gym to find yourself and find something bigger than CrossFit. And I think being around all the athletes and stuff, you can see that. And me seeking and coming in an individual and I'm going to win and it hit me, you know, like it humbled me in a way. And I think that's why I didn't do so well this season, trying to make the CrossFit Games. And I mean, I know that's why for sure. Whereas now I made Rogue and I just have a way different mindset, and it's just how Mayhem has shaped me to do things for a bigger and better cause. And it's not about the ego. It's not about the pride. It's not doing it for others. And, you know, like I've had a great coach in the past 2-3 months, Dom, who has not only helped shape me in the gym, but how to live my life, you know, and that's through Christ and learning about him. And it's just been really good the past 3-4 months. I'm very happy. I don't know where my life will take me after CrossFit, but I feel content and I feel like I'm on the right path.
God, I love that.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah,
it is wild, and I'm so stoked for you because there is no better revelation, but you put it really eloquently as well, right? Like it's almost learn by doing, and those who you surround yourself with. And so can you tell me more about that? Because I know, you know, Dom does have this incredible leadership ability, and I know they joke and they're like, oh, hey, he looks like John the Baptist most of the time, you know, like, but he does also have that. He's obviously a very godly man, runs Bible studies and things like that. But was that from, it sounds like it wasn't like, you know, people banging you over the head with it or anything. It was really just observation.
Yeah, no, like I said, like, I mean, I was showing up every single day, watching Luke, watching Guy, watching all these athletes, like amazing athletes. And I was, at the time, doing it for the wrong reasons, right? I'm doing it for my ego. I want praise. Like I want to feel that feeling of, oh, Jorge's here, you know, like, you know, watching these guys, like I want to be like Luke. I want to be like Guy. Everyone's praising them, you know? Yep. And so I'm watching that and seeking, and I'm just watching like the good examples that these athletes, these coaches, Rich, are doing. And that's how I want to live my life. I don't want to live my life seeking these other things that aren't really, it's all fake, you know, like it's all, so just like having these awesome examples is what I think I lacked in my life. I had awesome coaches, awesome people, awesome family, but I never had role models, you know, like good role models to follow. So I was always doing it on my own, you know, well, this wasn't right, so I'm going to do it this way.
Yeah.
But it's always like, I didn't really have, like I said, I didn't have a good role model. So I'm basically just doing it like for myself, like, you know?
Yeah. For the vapid things, for the surface things, for the things that are kind of easy to grasp onto.
And so Mayhem is really exposing that. It exposed it the first 5. I'm not perfect either. I'm not like, there's still a lot that I have to learn, but I'm at least aware now. And that changed my training, you know? I could go out and get last place at Rogue. I cannot make the CrossFit Games, but at the end of the day, it's not going to fulfill. Like, it's not what I'm trying to grow outside of my life.
100%.
This is just excess. Like, I'm lucky I get to do that on the side.
Yep.
Where I didn't realize that 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's crazy how fast it happened, but I don't know if it's because I turned 30. Just kidding. No, it's
benchmark.
It's definitely like it's this place. Like, I've been saying it since I got here. I don't even want to say it's a beast. It's like it's something bigger than people think.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the best CrossFit gym. You'll see. Come here and you will see.
Yeah.
Like, the people and it just, I don't even know. It's hard to explain it, but.
Hey, man, I mean, we picked up sticks and moved our family here, and I 1,000% agree. And whether you're in the athlete facility or just the gym, and, you know, we may even sound like we're being dramatic, but it's not. It's a beautiful community of people, and
it is,
and it does, you know, obviously come from Rich, who's really clear on values and the faith, family, fitness, and service. And there's just opportunities that kind of fall in front of you where you're like, oh yeah, I do want to be involved in that. And I do. Wow, that is a really cool way to live your life.
And like you said, it's not like bashed in your head or like,
right.
It happened. It's showing you good examples, and whether you want to or not, like, it's for you to realize. And that's the great thing about here. It's like, you do what you need to do, but these are the examples we're going to give you, you know, that will help. It's up to you to take it or not. But if you dive in and if you try, like, it's great.
Bro, that's coolest topic we could have covered. I'm so stoked for you.
Thank you.
We'd be remiss not to pivot that into, you are 30 is a great realization age, but you're still young, and Rogue is coming up. So Rogue this season, in light of, like, I don't know, let's call it a new mindset. What are the kind of, like, what are your goals?
Just to keep growing and leaning into those things right now. Obviously, there are still those thoughts where, like, I want to get top 5 at Rogue Invitational and make the CrossFit Games and stuff. But the things I'm doing outside is what I want to build off of.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's leaning more into Christ and leading more into these good role models and trying to do things right in my life and not just CrossFit. And these extra things that are popping up, like, I'm supposed to be going to the Rogue Invitational. Adidas is taking me to Germany, and then they're taking me to China. And it's just like, all that excess stuff is stuff back then that I've been like, wow, this is great, right? And now it's just like, I'm lucky to be able to do any of those things, but I'm even luckier to be able to grow in my life outside of CrossFit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or like so we talk about influencers, but, like, you've been influenced in a way that's life-changing, truly.
Yes.
Like, eternally. And I think that you also are now given that opportunity to kind of pass that on, like, even in an interview like this, to expose that to people is, you know, you get to touch people no matter what, like, especially as an athlete who's doing amazing things on a big stage. But now you get to go to different countries and do that as well.
Exactly.
Be kind of like that. Just living by example, I think you have tremendous opportunities.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I was thinking that, I mean, it was honestly earlier in the day, but it was, back then I wouldn't have thought like that. Like, I get to go on these trips and stuff. Now I'm thinking on how I can impact through these trips, or, you know.
Yep.
I never used to think like that.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, it's really fun to watch. That was the best news that you could have provided me with.
Thank you.
And we keep these intentionally short because we want people to keep coming back. But
yeah,
it's been awesome, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great, and it's always good talking to you and
Likewise.
stuff. But I'm
Likewise.
glad I got to finally tell a little of my story, you know.
100%. And appreciate you not getting distracted by the mustache. You know,
I definitely did, but I was, you know.
This is my Halloween preparation.
There you go.
Cool, brother. Well, all the continued success, but most importantly, like, where it matters. And that's the coolest thing you could have shared. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.